What's up guys? Today we're going to be hopping back into Halo 5 and playing some theorized Halo Infinite settings, so why don't we just go ahead and jump right in. Alright, here we go. We're playing some Halo Infinite free-for-all Slayer on Refuge, which if you aren't much of a Halo 5 player, this is a Forge remake of Sanctuary. And so before we get too deep into this game, let me kind of explain the settings that we're using. So I didn't come up with these settings. I saw some pros playing them a few weeks ago, and I don't know who exactly came up with them, different members of the community, so I do want to be clear about that. I didn't theorize all these settings, because at the end of the day, these settings are completely theoretical. These are just people guessing based on what they saw from the trailer, what they kind of think Infinite's going to be, and it's just a for fun thing. This isn't really probably what Halo Infinite's going to play like, but we have so long until Infinite comes out now that we might as well have some fun, play around with different things, and kind of just make our own fun a little bit. So for the settings, we have the Halo 2 battle rifle and the gunfighter magnum as the spawning weapons. The gunfighter magnum, again, if you aren't a Halo 5 player, this one does do less damage and shoots faster, so it's going to be a lot more similar to the pistol that we saw in the Infinite trailer compared to the regular Halo 5 magnum, which is a little more powerful, shoots a little slower, but does more damage. Obviously, we're using the Halo 2 BR because that's literally what we saw in the trailer, so, I mean, that one's an easy option. From there, we've stripped out all the abilities except Sprint, Slide, and Clamber still in the game also, because those are all things that we saw in that gameplay reveal. From there, we've moved up base movement speed to 110%, but also we've bumped down Sprint max speed to 90%. However, you can reach sprint max speed in 10% of the time. And so one thing that'll let you do, and you'll see it throughout the gameplay, but this will allow you to pretty much instantly run and slide, which isn't something that you can do in base Halo 5. In base Halo 5, you have to gain some momentum before you can slide or do different things, but in this, you pretty much hit max speed right away, so you can just get right into it. Other than that, the only other things that are really changed is the jump mechanics. You can jump a little bit higher. We have 110% jump. However, gravity is set to 120%, and then clamber speed is also set to 120%. So those are kind of the settings that the community went with for the Halo Infinite Slayer. There's also different objective game modes, but for the sake of this video and how hard it was for me to find people to get this lobby together anyways, we're just going to be playing free-for-all Slayer. We're going to play some maps that I think, while they might not be in Halo Infinite, I think they're good candidates for maps that could be remade in Halo Infinite. Sanctuary is obviously a map that's made its way into a lot of different Halo games. It's a solid competitive map, so I think it's a good candidate. As for the gameplay, you'll kind of notice, you guys have been watching it. I mean, it feels totally different. It's actually a lot slower than Halo 5. There's less of that crackhead energy, as I like to say. You don't see people flying all over the screen, thrust, sliding, clambering. Well, you can clamber, but you don't have like the thrust, jump, hover mechanics that you will see a lot of good H5 players use. It's a lot more basic, although obviously this is in Halo 5, so it is just stripped down Halo 5. In Halo Infinite, there could be some more intricacies to it. Without seeing some of those mechanical intricacies in the Halo Infinite engine itself, it's kind of hard to know how that'll play out. So this is kind of what you get for now. I mean, and it is what it is. I think it'd be pretty fun to see this in matchmaking, although I have a feeling 343 would never do that because, well, then they'd kind of be showing their hand a bit as to what the multiplayer gameplay could be, and they obviously wouldn't want to do that. I'm really hoping that we see something before the end of the year. I don't know if we will just because of that delay. We now know the game's not going to come out until next year, and we don't have a date next year, so it could be the start of the year, although I find that unlikely. It could be the middle of the year, and it could also fall all the way until the end of 2021, which would be a little bit of a bummer, but if that's the time that they need to get it right, then so be it. We'll just have to kind of wait and be patient. Like I was saying though, it would be cool if we saw some gameplay. I'd love to see some multiplayer gameplay before the end of the year. I would love to get a multiplayer beta or a flight, whatever 343 wants to call it, toward the start of next year. I'd really just love to get in and just test out Halo Infinite. I want to see what it's going to be like. I want to be able to give my feedback, kind of get my thoughts put together, hopefully before the game just totally releases. It would be nice to see if the community can have some input into various different things. Obviously, we're not going to have them majorly overhaul the game based on our feedback, but the community is good for small little tweaks here and there, regardless of what those are. So what do I think of this actual Halo Infinite Slayer game mode in Halo 5? It's okay. Kind of suffers the same fate that the Halo 3 throwback playlist suffers to me, and that's just that it basically is a stripped down version of Halo 5. If I wanted to play something like this, you know, there's other options. Obviously you can't go and play Halo Infinite, but there's just, if you want to play a game that only has sprint and clamber, I mean, that doesn't really exist in the Halo universe, but if you wanted to play a Halo game that had sprint, you could go play Reach or 4 if you didn't want all the other advanced mobility. Or if you're fine with the advanced mobility, obviously you could just play regular Halo 5. So that's going to do it for that game, so we'll hop into another game real quick, and then we'll probably wrap it up after the second game. Alright, second game here, I've thrown us on to Truth, because just like Sanctuary, I think Midship is a good candidate to make its way back into the Halo universe in Halo Infinite. It's been in multiple different games, Halo 2, Halo 3, it's been obviously in Halo 5, and then there's been various Forge remakes throughout the years. I personally would love to see Midship make its way back into Halo Infinite, even if we've seen it a lot, because I think it's almost a staple of the competitive community at this point. And it's just a map that it's pretty well balanced, it has good design, and you don't necessarily always need to start from ground zero for your map pool. It is good to use some of those existing map pools that you know people like. One thing you'll kind of notice in this game mode is since you don't have all the other advanced movement mechanics like the thrust and the hover and things like that, you can't get around these maps nearly as quickly as you can in vanilla Halo 5. There's so many movement mechanics that you'll see high-level players do that you can't do any of that really in this. You can spring jump, but that's about it, and you can do some stuff with slide, but it's not nearly as complex as base Halo 5 at all. Like I said though, it is kind of cool how you can pretty much go from standing still to sprinting and sliding really quick. We did actually see Master Chief kind of do that in the campaign, so I wonder if that's the reason they kind of went with those choices when they were making the game mode, or if it was just something that happened by chance just due to the settings that they picked. Oh, got him. Without the thruster, Halo 5 gunfights are so boring. Those mechanics are just so ingrained into the game that the guns are built around dealing with those people that are going to be thrusting mid-gunfight. And when you rip that out and the only thing they can do is the slow strafe, it makes the gunfights play out so much more boring. There's so much less outplay potential for you as a player. You kind of just have to hope for the best, hope you can hit all your shots, and there's not as much you can do to try and make your opponent miss. Like I was mentioning earlier, that's kind of the same problem that the Halo 3 throwback playlist had. That even removed sprint, so at that point you were basically just a slow-moving Halo 5 Spartan, and it's not a bad playlist by any means, and like, don't get me wrong, I did play it a little bit, and I enjoyed that they put it into the game as a playlist, but most of the time when I played that playlist, it was just like, if I really want the Halo 3 experience, you know, I'll just go play Halo 3, especially since it's in the Master Chief Collection anyways, and now it's on PC. So that's kind of similar vibes that this playlist gives me. Like I was mentioning earlier, I can't actually like go and play Halo Infinite, but you could just go play other things that give you similar feelings. For the sake of just kind of messing around and trying to speculate a bit, I think it's pretty cool. I'll be really interested to see once Infinite actually drops, or we get a flight, or whatever 343 does. I'll be interested to see some comparisons. Was the community correct at all on some of these gameplay mechanic choices? Were they totally off? We'll kind of have to wait and see. Overall, I'm pretty glad that I tried out the game mode. It's interesting to see what the community kind of theorized. Although if I was to give you like my favorite play off of the Halo 5 mechanics, I'd still say something like Mythic is a lot better than this game mode, which makes sense. There's a lot more time sunk into the Mythic arena settings. I mean, they developed an entire map pool around the mechanics, so there was a lot more time put into that than this. This was just a community thing, and I'm just playing it on the default Halo 5 maps, or in the case of the last map, a Halo 5 Forge map that's in matchmaking. Alright guys, that's going to wrap it up for the second game. So guys, that's going to wrap it up for the Halo Infinite settings in Halo 5. Like I was saying during the video, I'm kind of glad that we checked them out. They're not the most fun settings in the world. They really do slow Halo 5 down, And in that case, it kind of isn't very fun. But if you're just looking to kind of see what the community came up with for Halo Infinite, if you want to play on some speculation settings, or if you're just kind of bored and you want to check something new out, go check out these settings. You can play them with your friends in custom games. And if you're on Xbox, it might be easier to get a lobby together. I am playing on Halo 5 Forge, so getting a lobby together for this was kind of a pain in the butt. As always, guys, if you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. If you have a desire to support the channel monetarily, there is now a join button that you can click and it'll give you little emotes and some other random things, so check that out if you wish. Other than that, if you want to catch me live, you can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Arrrash with 3 Rs, or if that isn't enough me for you, you can also follow me on Twitter at Arrrash with 4 Rs, and I'll see you all next time.